feels like we're taking the crown. It feels like we were born to be champions. We were born to be champions. We were born to be. We were born to have a name in the lights, 'cause we're taking a ride to the top, to the top. Born to be champions. We were born to be champions.
Yes, this is the 260. I'm Joe Walbert. I'm joined by the man they call the mayor of the 260, Dave Rickert. We got Matt Brumbaugh riding shotgun from Spiece. And I tell you what, guys, missed you guys last week. Went down to John Cougar Mellencamp country down in Seymour, Indiana, and my stepson got married. And I tell you what, I've never seen a kid that giddy to get married like that. And a lot of you know my wife is Kat, and she's on the morning show of Magic 95 with Kat and Andy, and that name's going to change. It's going to be Andy and Grandma Kitty going forward with that guy. So I won't be long. I think a little grandchild's going to be on the way. But, man, it's great to be back on the 260. Everybody out there can find us at the 260 on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And I tell you what, guys, you know what the best thing about the 260 is? We're not sponsored by Budweiser. So I tell you what, we're sponsored. That's an important plus right now, but we're sponsored by Spiece and Matt.
Coors Light.
A lot of great things coming up on Spiece Fieldhouse, right?
Yeah, absolutely. On Saturday, we have April Showers, one-day basketball tournament. This is a girls' middle school tournament. $25 admission fee for fans to come out, watch a really good tournament. It's a first-time shot for us with our guy here, Ryan Robinson, and
yes,
he's pretty excited about putting this on, and it's going to be a good day and have some good competition out here. Sunday, we go right back at it with the middle school football camp on the turf out there. That's 4 to 5:30. You still can sign up on SpieceFitness.com. Go to the training camp tab and click on the football training camp. We get you in here and get you working here. It's nice to get out here and get some football work in, the footwork, the hand drills, all that stuff. We had a good camp on Sunday, and then looking for more the next two weekends. And then, again, we talked about it last week, the kickboxing event that's coming up here at Spiece on May 20th. Pretty excited. Sudden Impact Gym is putting the event on, and it should be a really cool day. Something that we're venturing into that we haven't done before. So pretty excited about that.
Yeah, and it seems like Derek Eby's making a lot of progress with the Hercules nutrition and training programs. So I'm hearing those programs are starting to fill up, and we're getting some good momentum out here with the gym.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, they're getting after it. They're doing every aspect that you can, the mental approach, nutritional approach, the workout approach, just the whole thing to make them a healthier person, both mind, physically, everything you can wrap into one. And I think it's really cool that, Max, Kiana, and Derek are getting after it and doing their thing. And it's pretty exciting to see that gym hopping.
And Dave, we got a big week next week for the show at the 260. It's also a big week, man, in the area. A lot going on, huh?
Yeah, our first guest next week will be Anthony Petruzzelli, team captain of the Comets. Wish him the great luck here going into the playoffs. I think starts Saturday night down in Cincinnati. Yeah. Then we're going to transition over to an NFL draft.
Yeah, we're going to have the first ever live stream inaugural. And all you football fans out there, I'm going to be reaching out to everybody next week, but we're going to have the first annual live stream of the NFL draft in the 260. And Dave, that only seems appropriate because per capita,
we're number one.
We're number one as far as putting guys into the league, man. So how awesome is that going to be next week?
Come possibly Thursday night, but more than likely Friday. Big Joe Tippmann.
Big Joe.
Be on a show here in a little bit. He'll be the 26th player.
Yeah, and how awesome is that? Such a great name, Joe Tippmann. number one prospect at center next week for the NFL draft. So we're excited. We're hoping maybe to have Jason Fabini come through next Thursday because it'll be 25 years of when he was drafted in the 4th round of the Jets. So we're hoping to have a lot of voices, a lot of people, Matt, that everybody recognizes from football in the area, the 260. We're going to hoping to have some kids on, coaches. We're also going to have our hotline open too with some past NFL guys too. So we're hoping to really have a good time. Everybody's welcome to come out next week at Spiece and watch the podcast and be a part of it. But we're just really excited about that, aren't we, Dave?
Oh, it's the guests that we have lined up. Hopefully everybody's good. But Joe, you also through the NFL alumni.
Yes.
We're going to have some other names here.
Yeah, we're hoping maybe to have Jonathan Ogden on. If you guys remember, he played left tackle for the Baltimore Ravens, a Hall of Famer. Maybe Bubba Baker, who played with the Lions. If you remember, Roosevelt Barnes talked fondly of his days of playing with Bubba Baker with the Lions. So maybe possibly Bernard Pollard. So we're working on a lot of good names. And what we're kind of hoping to do is to celebrate the draft and talk to guys about what was it like the night they got drafted, but also we've got some great kids. We got Tay Johnson, Mylan Graham, Brock Schott, we got Stratton Fuller. We got some guys that,
We're going to have Coach Dorfler here from Leo.
Dorfler here from Leo. So we got some guys.
Possibly, they have a game that night, but Dwanger, Coach Garrett, possibly.
Yes.
But they do have a game, so we got to work around that. So we don't.
So a lot of great names and maybe some kids down the road that we could project maybe at some point playing some pro ball. So speak about great ball in the area. How about the local baseball, man? I saw Dwanger. That was impressive. They took 2 from Lures this week, didn't they?
Yeah, big sweep a couple nights ago out there at the Ash Center. And, Dwanger's starting to hit that stride a little bit now. They, spring break kind of interrupted things. And when you get pressed into playing a lot of games in a lot of days, it's not always a great situation. But, they're starting to hit their stride a little bit. They've got, big doubleheader with Northrop coming up this weekend. Snyder has looked impressive. They really
this past weekend was Snyder Northrop. I haven't been. They're very, very talented. I mean, top to bottom.
Talk about Brandon Logan, Dave.
I haven't been awed by a player in a long time. He's an all moment. The kid is lightning fast. It seems like it's not, but it seems like 3 steps and he's already stolen a bag. He tracks the ball, unbelievable power, and the third base Fry.
Yep.
I didn't even know the kid was a pitcher, and I mean he went 5 innings like nothing.
Well, going back to Brandon Logan, the kid works his butt off.
I've heard nothing. He's a great.
He hits. He's in the weight room. He's in the cages, hitting extra time to get himself in a better. Get the swing down pat. That kid. Again, we talk about the unseen when you're working on your own and nobody's seeing you. What kind of time are you putting in? And that kid has been putting in double time. I know that. And he's done a great job.
I'll tell you this. Last spring, I was helping with Representative Bob Morris's youngest child's little league team, and we was at the dungeon, and it's a Friday night. I know they were freshmen at the time; they can't do too much, but both of them are in there hitting.
Yeah, it's just the commitment, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why one's going to Vanderbilt, which I don't think he will. I think he'll get drafted right away.
Let me ask you.
He's all hype on these guys getting drafted. Let me tell you something. That process is a lot harder than you think, man.
I'll speak of that. Speak of that for a second, Rummy.
It's
changed now. It's changed now with the NIL, isn't it?
Oh,
how's that change?
I mean, baseball.
How's that change the minor leagues versus playing college ball?
Baseball NIL is probably not as, you're not making the money that the basketball and football are. Sure. But again,
you're still doing better than you are.
Yeah, I wasn't getting any of that stuff when I was playing. I know that. But with these guys, he's got a lot of talent. I mean, he really does. And I'm not trying to say that he won't get drafted because there's a great possibility he could. There's a couple guys around here that have the great opportunity maybe down the road. But again, we talked about this a couple weeks ago with the college thing. When you have the opportunity to go to a major college, you're getting taken care of. You got the NIL, you got the housing, the food,
plus
the training. Yes, which is huge. But I mean, if you look at the college baseball landscape now, I mean, you're playing in front of 8,000-10,000 people a night. Sure. I just watched IU in Louisville play a couple nights ago, full house on a Tuesday night to watch those guys play, and it's a pretty good situation.
Any team in the SEC is full.
Okay, well, let me ask you guys this then. This is probably a tough question. Brandon Logan is so talented at baseball. He's a heck of a high school football player.
I know where
too.
you're going with this.
But if I'm his high school football coach and I have a kid who's maybe possibly the number one center fielder prospect in the state or the Midwest, is it a good idea for Brandon Logan to be playing football? I mean, it's a unique situation. He's such a great kid, so talented, probably a 3-sport kid. But at some point, can a kid be so talented at his bread and butter sport that you just really don't want him to play football, guys? And that's coming from a football guy. I love football.
Yeah.
I mean, that's coming from a football guy, and that's probably a tough question. But I think he's so good at baseball, Dave, that might be a question that has to be asked.
I'll take that. I think, you look at Austin Mack, look at Drew Tranquil.
Yeah.
It was the opposite. They were really good baseball players.
Yeah.
I believe, especially Austin Mack, that kid could have got drafted. I mean, there's no doubt. But after his freshman year, he dropped it and stuck with football. Brandon's in a different situation where, baseball is going to probably be his bread and butter.
It is.
But, man, I really like guys that play multiple sports.
I know you do, but boy,
it's hard to tell them no.
But would you be sick if he blew a knee out playing Northrop when he's? I mean, I know you can't go into sports operating out of a position of weakness or fear, but he's just such a talented kid that it almost begs for the question. He was great on the gridiron too.
Yeah.
But
as I say, he has the talent to play football, but it's one little accident.
Yeah,
man, that's hard though. I
you don't want to take it away from him. Who doesn't want to wear the black? Who doesn't want to wear the black of the East Side, right?
You don't want to, regret down the road that you didn't play those games. That you sat and you played.
So don't want to have ACL either.
No, I get it. It's a tough call.
But it's exciting, man, to see those kids excel. And give us a couple other area kids that, we talked about Brandon Logan. We got some other kids. How about some kids out in the county, baseball players that we have that are really coming along too?
Well, it's not out in county, but the Thomas kid from Dwenger.
Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah, he played a little bit. I mean,
he played too. Huh?
I'm going to try and slide out and watch them play on Saturday. I'm pretty, just to see him on the mound and see what he can do if he's pitching that day. But he's also a talented hitter as well. You look around the area. Obviously Carroll's putting up some great numbers again. They're ranked number 2 this week in the state in 4A, and they just got a solid.
Loaded.
It's not one or two guys. It's just a loaded team. I mean, they've got kids that are young that are filling in and just stepping up and putting in some good at bats for them, and their pitching's been solid. And it's a typical Carroll team.
Okay, I'm gonna put you on the spot, Dave. Who's the best team in the area in high school baseball?
I'd have to say, after I thought this leading up here was all going to be Dwenger. Snyder is loaded.
How about you, Brummy?
Oh, I think Carroll's the best team. But I would tell you this: Snyder does not fear Carroll.
No,
that's great.
I know that. I think Coach Klinkenbeard's done a great job. In his second year now, and they do not. They matched up at the sectional last year in a championship game, and Carroll got him on a late run to win the game. But Snyder doesn't fear him, and that's the lovely thing about young teams is, they don't know any better, so they're going to come at you.
It's fun when it warms up with the baseball.
I really thought there'd be a setback for Snyder, even having the 2 great players.
Sure.
I thought it'd be a setback losing all those guys. Matt, the Hinton kid.
Yeah.
He's doing great down at Vincennes.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
They haven't missed a beat.
No, they are tough.
I tell you, the baseball is exciting. I got to see if I can work the magic of Sonar. I'd love to get out late May and see if we couldn't cover some of those regional track meets. Between the boys and girls in the area, we just got so much talent, on the track and field. And, I'm kind of known for doing the color of high school football. Heck, I may go out there with Sonar and do a little broadcasting or color of the regional track meets, because there's just so many kids with so much talent with the track and field, you guys.
And I'm hoping in the next 3 weeks maybe, but get Terry Milton, coach of girls.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Northrop High School.
He's the best. He's developed everybody.
His hands full of rings.
Yeah. And that's exciting. Sure. And I tell you what else is exciting coming up next. A name that we all love and respect. Pittman. Coming up next, the number one prospect at the center position for next week's NFL draft. Joe Tittman's coming up next on the 260.
It feels like we're taking the crown. It feels like we were born to be champions. We were born to be champions. We were born to have a name in the lights, 'cause we're taking a ride to the top, to the top. Born to be champions. Champions.
Proud of you.
Appreciate you.
There he is.
Yes, this is the 260. I'm Joe Walburn. I'm joined by the man they call the mayor, Dave Rickert. We got Brummy, Matt Brumball, riding shotgun from Spiece, and an interview we are all excited to have. Been waiting for this. The number one center prospect in next week's NFL draft, the 260's very own Joe Tittman. And
Joe Tittman.
Thanks for joining us, brother, man. We're all so proud of you, Joe. You know what? We can't wait to hear about your journey through this process. But I tell you what, baby, 260, you're making us all proud.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on.
It's a pleasure, man, Joe. So many great memories playing at Bishop Dwenger. All the excitement, another great offensive lineman coming out of Wisconsin. You move to center. All of a sudden, you're shooting up the draft boards.
And
what's this been like for you, man? I mean, it's got to be a whirlwind process. How you handling everything?
How's your brain?
Exactly.
Well, after these past 2 weeks, pretty much mush. I've been traveling around doing like what they call top 30 visits. So,
yes.
I've been in and out of planes, flying in and out of different teams. So it's been wild, but I'm finally ready.
That cannot be comfortable for somebody your size.
No, especially when they're getting me middle seats.
What's that? What teams, obviously, you just don't quite know. There's some cat and mouse next week with the draft. But are there some teams, Joe, that you feel like are really focusing in on you? And have you been able to bond a little bit with certain teams?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say there's kind of some that have really focused in on me, but it's kind of different. I mean, it's weird because some teams won't bring out guys they're interested in. Some will. So, because they're kind of trying to keep possibly under the radar. I'm not saying that's exactly what's happening, but Yeah. So, I mean, last week I went from, So I started at the Patriots, went from the Patriots to the Vikings to Buffalo, Buffalo to the Commanders. And then I had a couple days off. And then this past Monday through Wednesday, I was at Giants, Jets, and then Eagles. But I mean, that was an awesome experience. I mean, just getting to go around and, seeing the different cultures of the teams and everything. It was wild.
Were you meeting with the head coach?
Yeah. Meeting with it's like they're only allowed to have you for 24 hours. So that means you fly in there and then you have to be out of there, by the next, that next day. So it's they'll bring you over at 7 a.m. and it's pretty much 7 to 3. You're just meeting and you're going from one meeting to the next with just pretty much anybody on their staff. So
in this process, Joe, who's been the one person that you were really impressed with that stood out to you?
I'd say the Eagles. The Eagles and their staff.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a really cool culture to be able to kind of go in there and experience it. And they were right there last year, and you can tell just by talking with all the coaches and everything. They got their head in the right place going into this next season.
Plus, you'd be protecting a great quarterback that just got paid.
Hell yeah! Especially after seeing that deal.
Yeah,
what a huge deal, huh?
Yeah.
You think you think yours is going to be that big?
Yeah, no, not anytime soon.
You're going to do all right, brother.
Yeah.
Let's go back, man. CYO football, man.
Yep.
Then on to Bishop Dwenger. Talk to us a little bit about that experience and who were some of the youth coaches that made a difference for you? And when did that moment come that it just kind of clicked that I got this, man, this football thing, I've got a future in this?
Yeah. So I'd say, some of those early on would be Coach Sam Tallarico, Coach Jason Fabini, those were guys that, really impacted me really early on in my football career, starting from a young age. And, Sam as in Coach Tallarico, he was that guy that was always kind of getting on me to, glorifying that lineman position. Because I was always I want to be a receiver. I want to be a tight end. And
Big Joe wanted to be a wide receiver, Dave.
Yeah, so give me the ball. So I mean, they were. From a young age, just being able to kind of instill all that love for O-line play. Both Coach Fabini and Coach Tallarico were there very early on for me.
So, Joe, knowing your uncles, I'm pretty good friends with both of them. And I know your mom and dad. I tell everybody, the Pelican blood finally got into the Tippmann blood.
Oh, yeah.
Your uncle Chris he was a stud.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, Chris was a legend in the 260.
And Tim was good too. But, I mean, looking back, how did they help you?
Just kind of, I guess, being there for support all the time, my Uncle Chris and Uncle Tim, always, every time I'm seeing them, the only thing we're talking about is football pretty much,
right.
We're going right to it. So, just kind of, I guess, helping me find that love for the game.
Tim always says that your dad said, "Hey, I don't know anything about football. You guys take over."
Yeah.
And they did a fine job.
They were there for me from a young age.
What was it like to play at such a school with rich tradition in Bishop Dwenger for Coach Garrett? I mean, you guys won the state championship. I did the call of the game in the sectional championship when you guys played Wayne. I think if you go back and you ask me top 3 high school football games I broadcasted the last 25 years, that would be a top 3. That was a fantastic game. I remember they just finally gave up in the second half and moved you around the line positions, put you in the backfield a little bit, and just kind of slammed the ball down the field. But talk a little bit about that game. Craig Young played in that game, who's playing for Kansas. He'll probably get drafted next year. But talk about that game and then playing for Coach Garrett and ultimately winning the state championship.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was, altogether kind of an up and down season. We started off, we were coming off of, kind of that whole head coaching change position. And, we naturally had to rally behind Coach Garrett, which, came pretty quickly. We started, I guess with like the whole bonding experience stuff, and that's something that's huge. If you don't have those relationships, you're not going to be able to trust each other on the field. You're not going to really want to, I guess, cut it loose and put your body on the line for your teammates. So that started pretty much in the summer of 2018, and just kind of going through that season, we were just kind of attacking everything and getting through the traditions of Bishop Dwenger football.
Which are the traditions there, Joe, are just okay. Number one, you guys take your little camp, go out in the woods, do that that's a big bonding.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That was a big there was a lot of different aspects of it too. Big bonding experiences, trusting, overcoming fears. I remember they had me climbed up on top of like a 30-foot telephone pole that you just had to stand on like the top of it. And I was sitting there shaking. I was like, what the hell have I gotten myself into?
That's fantastic, brother.
Another tradition of Dwenger, riding the bus, fully padded, full helmets on, no talk.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was,
that's why you guys win.
Yeah. Yeah. It just kind of builds up that energy and builds up that suspense. A lot of people would be like, well, you just get changed when you get there. I guess, talking on the bus, that's all things that are going to, I guess, get you more excited. But, I never went into a game feeling more excited than I did at Dwenger.
And then moving forward, Joe, why Wisconsin? Obviously, Wisconsin, when you think of colleges, is offensive lineman U.
Yeah, NFL U.
Yep. But for you, why Wisconsin, Joe?
So they were actually the first school to come start recruiting me at all. I think it was the end of my it was the end of my sophomore season, and it was actually Coach Bostad who ended up being my O-line coach my last year at Wisconsin, but at the time he was just the recruiter for Indiana. And so he came there, he told me to come up for camp and whatever. So I ended up going up for camp, and I did pretty well there and everything. Didn't get an offer, whatnot, but they invited me and my dad back the next day to do a visit. And I mean, personally, I just kind of fell in love with the coaching staff, with the school, and their tradition of success in the O-lineman room. So, when I finally did, I got the rest of those other offers. I got Purdue, Indiana, all that stuff. But when I finally did get that Wisconsin offer, it was like less than a month later, I committed.
How tough and how intense was it to make that jump to play Big Ten football, Joe?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a tough transition, but that was something Coach Fabini helped me with a lot. He was kind of
having him in your back pocket's pretty easy to do.
Yeah, that's a good resource. I mean, he kind of helped me get ready for that transition and that, I guess, that jump that I was going to be making. So, I came in physically ready, and, there's a whole nother mental aspect that comes to the game. But, kind of that Coach Rudolph told me going in there, he said, you're going to be a scout team guy your freshman year. So I kind of just, I guess locked that in, stuck to my role, and, just got after it on the scout team. And, I was going against great competition all year long, and it helped me, I guess, in the long run to be able to make that transition into Big Ten college football.
Take a moment. I've got a great story about Jason Fabini, but take a moment and tell us how much that mentorship and how much it meant to you to have Jason Fabini not only in your life for football, but also there for you personally.
I mean, it's been huge, especially, I've been going through all these meetings with all these NFL coaches and everything. And that's something I bring up in every single one of them. I'm like, I had Coach Fabini coach me from 5th grade through senior year of high school. And, not only that, he was there for me, to make that transition from college or from high school to college. And then now he's been there for me for making this transition from college to the draft. And, he was also a resource in when I was trying to make that decision, if I wanted to, stay in college for another year or go. But, he's been someone that's in my corner pretty much ever since I can remember. And then, every time I'm in town, he's taking me out for lunch, breakfast, dinner, and always.
Imagine that bill, Dave.
Oh,
Imagine that bill.
those two big boys eating.
I got a great Jason Fabini story. It just seems so right that you're in the draft this year. 25 years ago, Jason Fabini was picked in the 4th round by the New York Jets, and Dave and I have been watching kind of the progress of
Jets
you.
had the 42nd and 43rd pick.
Yeah, we're kind of thinking that could be a real possibility right there in one of those picks for you, Joe. But, Jason Fabini gets picked by the New York Jets, starts the first game of his rookie year, okay? His uncle was a guy by the name of Frank Lombardo. We're all down at the bar, Tubby's, Lombardo's bar down there on Broadway, down there across from Wendy's, all the way down from Steve Shine's place down there. And we're all there on the opening day of the NFL regular season. The Jets are playing the San Francisco 49ers, and we're in there celebrating Jason Fabini. And I'm in there with his uncle. Now, his uncle poured us all a shot of wild turkey. And I tell you what, that stuff will knock your dick in the dirt. But so we're there with a shot of wild turkey. We're going to do a shot of wild turkey on the first NFL play of Jason Fabini. And we're just sitting there looking at each other thinking, he made it. He made it. All the hard work. Jason made it. So there's these shots of wild turkey with his uncle, Frank Lombardo. First play, Vinny Testaverde's calling out the signals for the New York Jets. The 49ers had like Dana Stubblefield and Charles Haley, and Jason lines up for his first snap in the NFL starting at tackle. And I think it was Stubblefield comes off the ball and head slaps Jason to his knees. Okay. And we're just like, this is at the old Candlestick Park. We're watching it. It's the 4:00 game on CBS in the NFL. And we're just like, whoa, my gosh. And there's silence across the bar. And we kind of look at each other like, oh my gosh.
That's it.
That's it. It was the most vicious head slap I ever saw in my life. We kind of looked at each other and we said, man, to you, Jason. And we all had a shot of wild turkey on Jason Fabini's first snap, brother. But you know what? It just seems so appropriate with your relationship. 25 years later, another great Bishop Dwanger, 260 offensive lineman is about to start his journey, man.
Yeah.
Hell, they're neighbors, Joe.
I mean, so I'm just, it's so special, brother. For not only you, but it's got to be special for Jason too.
Yeah, I mean Jason, and then also my entire family. I've been gracious enough to have coming from a big family, the level of support that I've gotten from all of them. My parents and then all my siblings. I don't think I had a game here at Wisconsin besides the COVID season where I didn't have at least one family member that was either in Wisconsin or at all my away games too. I always had someone there. So just to be able to have that level of support. I think that's got to be one of the aspects that's been able to get me to this far, and it's what's going to take me and lead me through the NFL.
I know you have a lot of cousins, but look, young Levi, he loves you.
Yeah,
he is. That kid is special.
Oh yeah, he's awesome. I've been playing. I bought a PlayStation 5 when I got out to California when I was training because there was pretty much I'm training for the draft, and then we'd be done by 3 p.m. every day, and I'd have 7-8 hours of sitting on my ass. So I bought a PlayStation 5, and I've been playing with Levi and my little brother Jackson. And they're Levi's out there kicking my ass and whatever games we're playing, but it's awesome.
I love that kid.
Joe, you talked about your relationship with your father, your great uncles. The Tittman name commands so much respect in the 260. Take a moment and talk about your mother and how much she's meant to you, through this whole process.
Oh yeah, she's been awesome. She's has always been my biggest supporter, and I credit her to me finding my love for kind of like off-season training, because I played basketball from like 4th to 6th grade and I hated it. I was real bad at it. It wasn't my sport, so I was begging her to quit, and she her and my dad kind of sat me down. They're like, well, if you're not going to play basketball, you're not just going to sit on your ass the whole rest of the year. So they kind of got me into AW. Back then it was like AWP.
AWP.
That sports performance training that I was able to find those make those jumps just from 6th to 7th grade, and I was able to find that kind of that love and that the reason to do it, and I was able to just continue carrying on that love for the weight room and just always just getting better.
I really wish that your grandpa Pelkin was here.
Oh yeah,
he would be so extremely happy. I mean,
Yeah.
he was a great athlete.
Yes.
I mean, he still
Yeah.
has records at Xavier in basketball.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah, I was before every single game and after every single game, I'd either get a call or, he had a flip phone. I'd get some, not very good text from him.
But
But
playing at that
his
level,
big
Joe,
thing was then he let's push you around. What's
Say
that?
that again. Say that again. Joe, say that again, please.
Well, I don't know where I cut off.
What do you talking about him in the flip phone and the text?
Oh,
What do
yeah.
you say to you?
I would always get a text or a call, and it was whether it was after a basketball game, football game. It was always his big thing was don't let those little assholes push you around. He didn't like short people.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
Playing at a major level, I mean, playing Big Ten football, and now you're going to play in the NFL. What do those little messages mean to you before games? If a message came in from when your grandfather was with us, or your mother or your father or any family members or friends, somebody who's playing at the highest level, what do those messages mean to you?
Yeah, it really means a lot because there's so much going on right before a game. I do little things to get bring myself back down so I'm not getting elevated too high and I guess too much energy before the games and everything. But seeing those texts as I'm listening to music or kind of putting my pads on, it kind of really helps to bring me back down and kind of I guess remind me what I'm doing it for. And so I mean that's always been something that really helps me.
That was a drastic move to center. Tell us a little bit about that and the faith that you had in the process, because going from tackle to center is a big change.
I mean, before you say that, I tell everybody, just stop and think. He's 6'6". He's at Wisconsin, and they put him at center. That's how loaded you guys are.
Yeah. It was a big jump and it was a big transition. So when I came in my freshman year and I was playing on the scout team, coach, our scout team O-line coach at the time wanted me at center just so that we would have a big push up the middle and all that stuff. But he would also throw me around to the puller. So whoever was the pulling guy, he'd make me go out there. And I think that's kind of what helped me to get to where I am today with my pulling ability. But besides from that, I didn't really, after that freshman year scout team, I didn't really do much center back until I was going into my third year, which would have been my first year starting. And Coach Christ and Coach Rudolph kind of sat me down and they told me they wanted me to take that starting center spot. They told me, pretty much they're not going to give it to me, but that's where they want me to take it. And, for me, it was my first opportunity to get on the field. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to get on the field. And, I kind of worked a lot kind of by myself a lot that summer because in college, you can't, in the summers, you can't use a ball. So like working with any coaches, it's either like we can do position work, but you can't use a ball. So I had to do all that stuff kind of on my own.
Never heard of that.
Yeah. And then
that
so
sounds
going
stupid.
into camp, going into camp, I a lot of it was learning too. There's so much more on your plate at the center position. You're making minds. You're pointing out. You're making the calls. What you want to slide to. If you want to flip the call, So there was just like a whole other aspect of what I wanted to, I guess, accomplish and what was going to be on my plate. And it just took a lot of work, a lot of kind of reaching out to those people that were going to be able to help me. And
you did that. You did that in one summer. You figured out.
Wow.
That
so impressive.
Very.
So impressive. And it's funny when we read the scouting reports of you, they talk so much about your hips, how fluid you are, how you can get to the next level, and they love your size and strength. And I read you have a 635-pound squat. Yeah. I mean, that's incredible. But what's funny too is the only thing they're a little bit concerned of is at the center position, they think you're almost too big and too strong, which we laughed about because we went through your whole scouting report. There's nothing negative. Everything about you is awesome, but their only concern is he's so big and strong, a 635-pound squat. He might be too big as an NFL center. And we've never had an offensive lineman criticized, Dave,
for being too big
for size.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the big things. They say like, oh, you think the being as big as you are at the center position affects you negatively. I'm like, no, not at all. I get to play with more length than other guys would. There's certain things I have to, kind of consciously think about, not giving anybody my chest because it is a broader surface and all that.
Yeah.
But I mean, after that, it's all about me, my strength, my power, and something they worry about is being able to bend, especially being as big as I am. But
Yes.
I can
Yes.
bend, I can get out and run. So yeah.
So, being too big, I want to see him go up and get Dominican Sue.
Oh, I tell you what, speaking of that, Joe, when you lay your head down at night, you're a week away, brother, from being drafted in the NFL. You have any thoughts or daydreaming about playing in certain stadiums or playing against certain players? I mean, you got to be sitting back a little bit and thinking, man, I might play on Soldier Field someday. Or, I mean,
It's coming real quick.
I mean, any thoughts with that or just the excitement of the moment? Or have you had a chance to kind of take it all in?
I mean, honestly, I haven't even had the time to be able to take it all in with me traveling around and everything. But I'll be honest, I'm excited to, I guess, just get out finally be settled down on the one team so that I can fully,
Yes.
kind of dive myself into the playbook, into the culture, so that I can finally just, I guess my number one goal for when I get to the NFL is to earn the trust and respects of the rest of the offensive line, the rest of the team. So
You will.
Without that, I'm in no position to even work for a starting job and all that. So my first goal is to earn the trust and respect of everybody else on the team.
Next week, Joe, where are you going to be at to watch the draft, and who are you going to share that moment with?
Yeah, so I'm just going to be with the family in Fort Wayne. And yeah, I mean, it's just going to be an awesome moment to be able to share it with all the people that have supported me for so long. And I guess, the people that have gotten me to where I'm at. So I'm excited.
We are so proud of you. Now we're going to put you on the spot. We have a little segment where we call it Rapid Fire, where we like to ask our guests just questions. It kind of personalizes them. So the first question from me, and I don't know if you even have had time to watch any Netflix.
When you're not playing with Levi and your brother,
Exactly.
here's
When
the
you're
question.
when you're not gaming, and if you've had any time, is there anything that you're watching on Netflix right now, Joe?
I just finished up the show Night Agent.
Ah, interesting.
Haven't
Night
heard that
Agent.
one. Haven't heard that one.
Interesting.
So, Joe, what is, I have a feeling I know the answer, but in the Fort, what is your favorite restaurant?
In Fort Wayne?
Yep.
Shoot, I'd have to say Black Canyon.
I knew
Bingo.
it. I knew it. I knew it.
Good call.
Good answer.
Good. Yeah, great answer.
All right, man. When you're doing that 635-pound back squat, or
Or
you're
55,
or
or 55 bench.
you're bitching 465 or 455, what does Joe Tippmann listen to music wise?
I'd say like a lot of rock music, especially when I'm working out. But also, like before games and stuff, I listen to country. I like to use the country music to kind of bring me back down.
Interesting. Do you think that having to come back down before the game is just so you're not playing out of control?
Yeah. So, especially with me, something that like I like to strive for each and every game and going into and practice as well is just a calm confidence. And, having to bring myself back down, each and every, after almost pretty much every single play, I have to take my breath to, as soon as the whistle blows, I take that breath, pretty much wipe the whole play, wipe everything that just happened, and pretty much say to myself, on to the next one.
Joe, you already covered how you recharge yourself. What is your greatest, it can be high school, college, what is your greatest sports moment?
I would have to say winning that game, that sectional game versus Wayne.
Wow.
I agree.
Not the state, the sectional game. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
That was
it was just the most wild and I guess crazy game that I've been a part of. And the state game was, just as awesome. It was kind of the culmination of that whole season, but
Yeah,
we wouldn't have
build
gotten
up.
there without that Wayne game.
Yeah, that game against Wayne could have been the best playoff game in the 260 in the last 10 years, Dave.
Wow.
Last question, Joe.
Yep.
We're all so proud of you in the 260, brother.
And very thankful.
and thankful, man. You've been a great role model. The Tippmann name is spoken with so much pride. Got a lot of guys that watch the podcast. Got Mylan Graham, just committed to Ohio State. Got Tate Johnson, maybe Notre Dame, maybe Tennessee, Dave.
Yep.
Brock Schott, Stratton,
He's
Fuller.
just getting offers left and right now.
Got so many great guys playing high school football in the 260. What is the message to them from Joe Tippmann?
I'd say ability. You know, if you're not able to get on the field, you're not going to be, you know, so making yourself available, pretty much, I guess, in any position and in any, I guess, area, you know, special teams, all that stuff, because you're not going to get on the field. You're not going to be able to get out there and show out unless you do that first. So making yourself, when I said ability first, I meant to say availability.
Availability, gotcha.
If that clarifies that a little more. But yeah, I mean, making yourself available, you know, if your coach says, hey, like, you know, someone goes down, you know, at a spot that you don't play, if you jump up, you're available. They know that you want to get out there. They know that you want to play.
Great answer.
That's a great answer. And that's a great message to all of our great kids in the 260. And I tell you what, Joe, we couldn't be any more proud of you. When your name's called next week, just know in your heart that all of us are going to stand up in the 260 and we're going to clap and tap our chest and say, yeah, baby, you did it.
Next Thursday night, we're going to have an NFL draft, and we're going to go the whole night with it.
Yeah, we're going to go the whole first round, the first ever 260 NFL live stream draft party.
Tell them who you're trying to get, Joe.
Oh, we got all kinds. We're trying to get we're hoping Jason Fabini can come over a little bit and talk a little bit about, 25 years, Joe, when Jason Fabini was drafted. Bill Parcells loved Fabini, by the way, 4th round. But we also, Sonar, a guy who does all the production for us out of multi-format. He has ties to Jonathan Ogden, who was the offensive tackle for the Baltimore Ravens, Bubba Baker from the Detroit Lions. We're going to have Coach Eddie Nolan on, so we're hoping to have Bernard Pollard call in. So next Thursday, man, we're just going to celebrate the draft, celebrate the 260, and we believe you're probably going to get picked in one of those picks by the New York Jets, but there's also a little tiny speculation. Maybe you'll sneak in the end of the first round, but basically next week we're going to celebrate the 260. We're going to celebrate the draft, and we're going to celebrate the hard work and effort in the name of Tippmann. And I tell you what, brother, we are so proud of you.
Very proud.
Yep. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys so much.
Well,
absolutely.
Joe, I really appreciate it. I know you're still going to be nerves on high, but we wish you the best.
And enjoy the moment, brother. You worked hard. You earned it. And thank you for being the role model that you are for the 260, baby.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Absolutely, man. I tell you what, Dave, from fighting in the trenches of the NFL that Joe Tippmann will do to fighting in the steel cage with our next guest.
Tippmann.
How you like that? The toughness of Joe Tippmann.
Jacob Kendig.
Yep, to transition to MMA, a guy who fights in the cage, and Jacob Kendig. So this is the 260. We are so excited about our guest. Yes, this is the 260. And Dave, we are the 260 when we have guys like Joe Tippmann about to be picked in the NFL draft. And we are the 260 when we have a badass boy sitting next to us, Jacob Kindig, man. I tell you, talk about a bad boy in the MMA, be fighting for that welterweight title a week from Saturday at Memorial Coliseum. And Jacob, it's an honor to have you on the 260. And we want everybody in the 260 to get behind you, and your story is such a great story.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for having me.
So let's start, man. 3 sports athlete, star at football, baseball, you can do it all. How did you all of a sudden end up fighting in the MMA? Because when you play football or baseball and basketball, everybody tells you you have to control your aggression and not fight on the field. And here you end up as a professional fighter. Kind of take us to that journey and how that happened.
Yeah, man. Being a small little white guy in the SAC,
Yeah, you had to be tough.
You have to be tough if you want to play, if you want to be on the court. Maybe not so much in baseball, but if you want to be on the field in football. So I've always had that chip on my shoulder and that edge. What brought me into fighting was really the competition of it. In my eyes,
you missed playing the sport, so you had to find something.
Yes, I quit playing. So I played college baseball for not even 6 months at Indiana Tech.
Sure.
I quit playing
After
baseball.
being at Concordia for 3 years and
Gotcha,
Riverside
yeah.
for 1.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I quit playing baseball. Obviously needed something to curb my competitive edge.
And this came to mind first thing. I mean, there could be other things you could do.
Sure. I'll get into like what drove me into that.
Sure.
But just the competitive edge. Didn't even have a job at the time. Just kind of playing video games, hanging out. Mom let me chill in the basement, just trying to figure out what I wanted to do with life.
Sure.
Didn't even know where I wanted to go. I was a psychology major in college. And like I tell everybody, I went to college to play baseball, not really vice versa.
Of course.
I'm sure a lot of people can
Relate.
relate to that. So, I needed to curb that competitive edge. I was waking up every day. I was like, man, I'm only 18 or 19. At 18 and 19, I feel like you don't even know what you want to do with your life a lot of times. I feel
Of
like
course.
That's a big time decision to make. I'm 30 and don't know what I would choose if I wasn't fighting, honestly, right now.
Sure.
My dad coached baseball with a guy named Steve King. Steve King was a professional fighter here in Fort Wayne. So I knew he had a gym. We actually went to UFC 118 or 119 while I was in high school, years before, I never thought I'd be a pro fighter. So years before I even thought about fighting, I enjoyed watching it. We went to UFC 118 or 119. I feel like maybe 119. I always
Sure.
forget those numbers. It was Mirko Krokop and Frank Mir.
Oh, Frank Mir was just a bad dude,
And he's
man.
fighting, coming up again on the same card as his daughter.
Can you believe that? How's that guy still fight, man?
Yeah,
Whew.
I don't know. I don't even know what the promotion is, but he's fighting with his daughter, which
That's
is
awesome,
which
man.
is probably a really cool thing. He ended up
Only Frank Mir fights
Yeah.
in the same card with his daughter, right?
Even
hopefully
in
one
the
day-
family.
Yeah, hopefully one day maybe I can fight in the same card as one of my daughters.
That would be
If they do.
He just had
unbelievable.
his third daughter.
I know.
have 3 daughters.
Congratulations,
Yeah,
man.
Thank you, man. So none of them have, sparked. 2 of them are the only ones that obviously are old enough to even mention MMA, but
Sure.
it hasn't really sparked them too much yet. They train
Yeah.
a little bit, but
Do you think though, at that age, 18, 19, you were kind of searching for some type of discipline maybe you found it with the MMA and the fighting because
Once again, he was a sports star.
yeah, and then that ends.
lost
and
it.
What happens is that ends for a lot of kids in high school
So
or
now-
college, and you're trying to find yourself.
Well, he said he's down in dad's basement.
Yeah, and he's
trying to
looking
get-
for discipline,
because
and
he's lost it.
he finds the gym. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
is that kind of how it came about for you? You think just absorbing the discipline, the toughness of fighting?
Sure. My dad's preached toughness and discipline into me since I started sports. Like
Sure.
those ride homes.
And if anybody knows Randy,
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
true
I mean,
statement.
those ride homes, as you guys, they make memes and stuff over those rides after games that you didn't play well. I could have went 4 for 4 with 3 bombs and a triple, but maybe I pitched like crap, and I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
Dad's
hear
on
about
you.
how I pitched. I'm not going to hear about how I hit. So, of course, discipline and toughness is something that's been preached into me for years. So it wasn't hard to grasp that once I got into MMA. But yeah, I think MMA is the hardest sport
Yes.
that I've ever done personally. Of course, wrestling as an individual sport is up there as well because we have our own individual wrestling days that are
Yeah.
a meat grinder. But MMA as a whole is probably the toughest sport I've ever done. It's probably the highest of highs and the lowest of lows.
Sure.
It's when you lose, you prepare with the team, you prepare with coaches, but at the end of the day, it's you versus that other man.
Individual.
And you can say, oh well, maybe my coaches didn't prepare me here, or maybe I didn't have the right teammates to prepare me for this guy's skill set. But at the end of the day, it's man versus man. And when you lose, when you're on the losing side of that, it hurts extra.
Yeah, because you put all the time in, man.
It's a lot of
And,
time.
and it's you only out there. I mean, yeah, the coaches and the gym.
They train with you.
I
but
want
you're
you-
out there by yourself.
Yeah, I want you to talk a little bit about how important, the gym and the coaches you're with are, but it's just got to be something to be out there all by yourself, man.
Yeah.
In that moment, man, because you either do it or you don't.
100%. And it wasn't something I was used to, obviously coming from team sports.
Team sports,
Yeah.
exactly.
So that's why a lot of wrestlers venture over into MMA, and it's a little easier for them. Of course, they have that background, but they have that one-on-one.
Yeah, wrestlers, what they go through training wise.
Yeah, and they have that one-on-one competition.
Yeah,
to
every
base
day.
on. Whereas, I can't say, oh, I hit well, I pitched well, but my team didn't produce, or I dished 3 corner threes to this guy and he didn't make shots. We lost by 2 points. There's nobody to really
Yeah.
put,
You can disappear like in a football game or something.
Yeah.
You can disappear. Maybe the next day when you watch the tape, it's like, what are you doing, Walburn?
100%.
But man, I mean, and speaking of that first fight in the cage, man, what was that like when you walked down to the cage, your very first one? I mean, because that had to be a moment where you're like,
Because we just got
oh
done
my
with-
gosh, I'm in the cage, man. I
We
mean,
just got done with Joe Tippin talking about his, what his brains went through.
yeah.
What's going through his stomach. I mean, when you're walking down, what's that
What's
going
that
through
like?
you?
So the first fight was 4 days after I turned 20.
Wow.
I trained for 2 months leading up into that. That's it. Like that was my extent to my
I got this in 2 months.
Which is
Yeah.
not which is
which
nowhere near you needed.
No.
because I didn't have a background other than being an athlete and being athletic and tough. I
Sure.
didn't bring anything to the table.
Yeah,
but
2 months ain't gonna cut it.
2 months wasn't going to cut it. I mean, I was in the best shape of my life. But the first walk, I had like a train, like an army behind me of like all my teammates, my family, my dad. I had
Wow.
I had like 20 different people.
Oh,
So like
Wow.
I'm dapping up 20
I
people.
I
and-
think I know where you're going with this.
yeah, I'm dapping up 20 people before I get into the cage, and I'm hype and the crowd's hype. And I get in there and I didn't know what to expect. So
Yeah, of
of
course.
course you have nerves. But I would say the second walk was the most nerves I've had because I knew what to expect.
At that point, you know what's waiting for you. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing with MMA. And Dave and I talked about it. We were all boxing fans growing up, but it just felt like after Tyson bit Holyfield's ear off and all the nonsense of boxing,
Sure.
guys weren't in
Butterbean.
shape. But when you watch MMA, man, I can't imagine. You make that walk, there's a monster waiting for you at the other end.
Yeah.
And so you have got to be ready.
100%.
I mean,
Especially at the
he could be a wrestler, he could be martial arts,
Yep.
he could be a boxer.
Yep.
You got to be trained in all 3 levels.
Yes, which was an advantage for me because when I started training without the background, I started training everything at once: wrestling, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai.
Wow.
So I started training everything at once. So that, that can kind of be a benefit in this day's MMA stage because a lot of guys back then were just kind of, especially at the beginning of MMA, like it's wrestler versus boxer,
Yeah.
kickboxer versus jiu-jitsu. Now
Now-
you're everything.
you
or
better
you're-
know
or you're
it-
nothing. You have
know it
to
all.
have,
and how hard is that mentally? Because obviously you're in there, you can be aggressive, you can, you feel like you've got a skill set, but it's got to be so mental. It almost, when you watch it, and I'm a little bit of a layman, it looks like it's almost like, who doesn't make that first mistake?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. 100%. Obviously the wrong zig when you should have zagged can
Exactly.
in your night. And that has happened to me on the bad side and on the good side. And that's what a lot of people don't understand about fighting is that we're not just like meatheads that are going in there.
Oh, no.
Rock 'em, sock 'em. Like
No,
it's
it's mental.
very calculated, especially at the professional level. Like this is my job and the guys I'm fighting, this is their jobs. And like
Yeah.
the guy I'm about to fight, like he owns a gym and runs a gym. Like I'm not
Wow.
fighting guys that just come off the couch. Like,
Wow.
you know what I mean? So it's a lot more technical. Of course, you're watching film and trying to pick up tendencies, but you never really know until you're in there, just like any sport. You guys got schemes. Fighters have schemes too.
Sure.
Maybe I like to do, maybe I'm more of a Muay Thai guy, or this guy likes to grapple, so I need to watch out for his takedowns, or maybe, this guy, I know that he's going to want to kind of muddy it up and cage wrestle me a little bit. So, you prepare schematically for those types of areas, just like you would any other sport. So there's a lot more that goes into it than just, all right, let me hit this guy as hard as I can, and hopefully he falls. Of course, I'm trying to knock him out quick, but you have to think before you act.
The road that you've gotten to this point, your first fight, you lose. Tell us about how with your wife and kids. I mean, how tough is it?
Yeah, man, it's tough. My first fight,
And how
I
lucky
didn't
you-
have kids yet.
Yeah.
My kids actually have never been to a fight until the previous one. That was the first time that I allowed my daughters to actually come to a fight. They've watched me on TV.
Sure.
But my first fight, 4 days after turning 20, 2 months of training.
Wow.
I fought a guy that was like a seasoned wrestler, and I dominated the first round, had the worst adrenaline dump. I literally was like suffocating in between the first and second round.
Yeah.
Can't breathe.
Couldn't breathe. And as an amateur, it's only 3-minute rounds. So I fought a guy named Bradley Glover, was a vet. He's been around for a long time. He no longer fights that I'm aware of. But he was around for a long time. And second round, he dominated me in the second round. I came out in the third round, kind of did what you were just talking about, just zigged when I should have zagged, threw a right hand, wasn't covered on my left side, got flipped, sat down to my butt, and then the ref called it.
Yeah.
So like a flash knockout. I wasn't like snoring or like anything, like, sometimes
Just happens so quick.
it happens
man.
quick. And back in the early days of MMA, it was called novice amateur. So like you couldn't be punched in the face on the ground in your first 3 fights.
But-
Those different rule sets.
But don't you think, Jacob, that was part of your journey?
Oh, for sure.
I mean, you had to go through that to get to where your skill set is now.
Sure. Yeah. I would, in all reality, I was horrible. Like
Wow.
I was horrible then. So like to see where I'm at now compared to then, I'm not surprised because I know
Sure.
what I could do athletically
But the
once I
guts-
committed to it.
But the guts to do that, man. And then let me ask you this. That's impressive, the guts. What impressed me about your bio is the moment that you said, you know what? I got to make this my full-time job.
Yeah.
Like I have, like Dave made a great point to me. Dave says in the pre-interview, he says, Joe, he had to quit everything and take on the pressure of making this MMA his career.
And that's where I'm going with. I mean, his
Yep.
wife, I mean, she's got to be a saint to let you do this.
Sure.
And how'd you manage the pressure of that? Because I would have had a hard time with that personally, knowing, okay, like I got even more riding on this.
Yeah.
I mean, that had to be something where mentally you have to be you got to really be tough mentally, brother,
Yeah.
to be able to handle that.
Like I said earlier, like the ups and downs and fighting is wild. There was many times where I thought about quitting. And
Sure,
the
I can
sport-
imagine.
The sport just always brought me back in.
Is that just the love you had for the sport?
Yeah, the toughness that it breeds, not only like in the training room, but like in life. It makes work easier. It makes being a husband easier. It makes being a dad easier because nothing compares to getting punched and kicked and doing assault bike sprints and getting choked, and like nothing compares to that. Nothing compares to the toughness that a training room breeds. So life's easy after you've done things like that for so long.
So how key is it? You can mention some of your guys. How key is it, the guys you train with and you fight under the art of scrap, but talk about the gym too. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
and the
talk about Lee
preparation
brothers.
for a fight. Exactly. And talk about the Lee brothers and how important those relationships have been for your growth.
Yeah, they've been huge. So like I was saying earlier, I started with Steve King at
Yeah.
Kingdom MMA on Calhoun downtown. I trained there for a couple years. They closed down.
Yeah.
Him and we didn't have a huge team there. Him and I and a couple other guys came over to Lee Brothers, and I've been in there since 8 or 9 years now.
Wow.
So they took me in, open arms. Chris is now my head fight team coach. He's cornered me in 15 of my 20 something fights probably. So he's been huge for me. He's our head Muay Thai instructor and our head fight team coach.
Wow.
Mike Lee, his twin brother, owns Lee Brothers.
Got it.
And Mike's kind of basically my manager.
Wow.
So, him and I are very close. We work hand in hand on what fights make sense, what doesn't. He's more of like my brother, like my big brother. Chris and him are more like my big brothers. That I'm the oldest in my family, so I've always been big brother. So they're like the big brothers to me.
You.
To me,
Jacob, how many fights do you plan on doing in a year? 2, 3, 4?
My active years are 3 or 4.
Okay. I figured it'd be.
Yeah. And how long does it take to prepare properly for a fight?
I would say for me, if I'm like not completely unplugged from the gym, a 5 or 6 week camp is plenty.
Okay.
A lot of our camps are 10 or 12 weeks.
Gotcha.
Okay.
It just depends how unplugged I am from training itself. Basically how out of shape I am at that time.
Sure.
Usually I'm always I work at the gym. So I'm always in the gym, whether it's private lessons or coaching Muay Thai classes. So I'm always active. So I'm always in relatively good shape. So 6 to 8 weeks is ideal for me. Sometimes if I have a fight slated in 6 weeks and it falls through, maybe that camp turns into 12. So like this camp's kind of turned into a 12-week camp because I was going to fight a couple months ago in Portland, Maine, or in Bangor, Maine. Some stuff fell through. That didn't happen. So we just kind of kept on the track, and this camp extended 6 more weeks.
And the Lee brothers are so respected in the fight game. Having them in your corner, is that just like a brotherhood that you can look over or be able to be in the middle of this fight and come to the, in between the rounds to have that much respect? I mean, is it somebody that you would just basically almost trust with your life?
100%. Yeah, that's the great word, is like trust. Like,
yeah,
fighting is, people die. People
yeah.
do die.
You got to trust those guys with everything. Also, God forbid something goes wrong, but those guys got to be like your brothers in the front line.
Yeah, 100%. They're in the training room with me for 9 years now, so they know how I click, when I'm on, when I'm off, what they need to say to turn me on. If I'm just, if I'm dominating, they know what to say to just keep me, calm and doing what I'm doing. So I trust them with, like you said, with my life, because my life is at line.
Yeah,
when I'm in the cage, my life is at line. Like, that guy's trying to hurt me in front of my family and kids. So,
and you're trying to hurt him. He's
I'm
trying to hurt
him
you
just as much as he's trying to hurt me.
And Dave made a great point in the pre-interview when we were getting ready for this. He says, Joe, it's got to be difficult for you to come down after a fight. I mean, something that intense, brother, where it is just one-on-one. What is it like to try to come down after a fight, to try to maybe level off when you're in something that intense?
It's hard. I don't go to sleep till sometimes 3 or 4 in the morning that night, just because
Wow.
I'm just like so amped up. It
Yeah.
definitely helps after the fight. Getting pictures with my fans,
Sure.
seeing my kids, seeing my wife, seeing my family. It's became like normal for me now. But that adrenaline just keeps pumping. I go to like the after party and I'm just like still buzzing, and I go home and I'm in bed and I just watch my fight back, or I'm answering messages on social media, or I'm just
Wow.
like, you're just buzzing for like, I don't sleep. I'll go to sleep at 3 a.m. I'll wake up at like 6 or 7. I'm just,
Wow.
it's hard. It is very hard, but it's a great feeling
With
when
all-
you win. It's a great
Yeah.
feeling.
Sure.
in all the training that you do. What's your food like? I mean, are you bulking?
So I am fighting up a weight class this fight. I usually fight at, I shouldn't say usually, my last fight was at 170, but predominantly in my career I fought at 155, which is lightweight.
Is that easier to fight up, not having to cut as much for training? Do you feel
usually-
stronger, or
Yes, like I don't have to like dwindle myself down to stay at a certain spot throughout training. But I did bulk up for this fight because I knew I was fighting up a class. So
Sure.
I was in the mid 190s for this at the beginning of this camp. And I'm fighting at 170, but I'm in the mid 180s now. So I've kind of made my descent a little bit. We're kind of starting our water load phase of our of our
So
cut.
you're mid 180s now. So you'll cut down and hit 170 next week.
Yep, Friday next week.
How tough is that,
Wow.
man? And what is that like? The biggest thing that people don't realize about you guys is, I mean, we see you guys fight in the cage, and those fights are unbelievable. But I'm always blown away by the weight cut, man. I mean, the discipline,
Come
Dave.
tomorrow.
I mean,
Come tomorrow. You're talking about 8 days.
I'm just blown away by the discipline and how you have to be so careful with that because everything, first of all, everything rides on you making weight, right?
Yeah, you could lose your money as a pro. You lose money.
Exactly. So imagine that, Dave.
That's what I'm saying. In 8 days, he's got to get down to 170.
And that honestly, for me, is a small cut. Like
That's
when
a
I
small cut.
when
I gotta be honest. I should ask your wife this. How grumpy are you when you're cutting, man? I mean, I wouldn't be grumpy as
That's
hell,
why
man.
we're doing the show today. With,
Tell him, Sonar, I'll be grumpy. Hey, I'm grumpy around and get my sweet tea, man.
Uh-huh.
I mean that's why. Not to make light
his
of it.
wife's nut rule was we got to do it this week, but she goes, I don't want him on the air next week.
next Thursday I'll be all sunk in and I'd look weird and sick.
You know what, though? Joking aside, man. To me, that's so impressive, man. And what is that process like for you? And how do you mentally just work through that?
So early in my career, I would just cut weight off of like what I read on the internet. Saw into this, do this. I just tried a million different things. Now we have a weight cut specialist that works for us. His name is Brandon Woody. We call him the mad scientist, is what I call him, what we call him.
Brandon Woody, huh? So he's
Witty,
the weight,
Witty, yep.
Witty, the weight cut specialist.
Yep.
I love that. The stuff we learned, Sonar, on the 260.
Yep.
A weight cut specialist. Tell us about him, because you know what? He's got to be extremely important for you guys.
Dude, he's huge. He makes like our shakes, like our post weigh-in shakes. He makes some like pre weight cut drinks. I call it lake water. It's horrible. It's got like stuff like dandelion root and stuff in it that kind of make sure your blood pressure stays high because it will lower
It sounds
as
like
you're cutting weight.
Budweiser, Joe.
Oh my God.
I hate beer, but Budweiser probably tastes better than this.
Wow. So you're going through it now. Okay. You complete your cut. Now, when is the weigh in? Is it the day before?
Day before, yeah.
Okay,
Friday at 2 p.m.
Okay. So Friday at 2 p.m., you weigh in, you make weight.
Can you go to McDonald's?
What is it like then?
I can, but that's not what we use.
But what is it like then to power back up? And then how much weight are you able to put back up and feel comfortable on fight night?
So we'll do like a dry weight is what he calls it on Monday. And that'll be like our initial weight in the morning. That'll be like what we ideally get back up to.
Oh, so you have that's fascinating, Dave. Because I watch these fights and I'm like, okay, what is the natural to get back up to? Because you're gonna feel like, oh my gosh, I just took everything out of my body.
Yeah.
Now I'm powering back up. So that's interesting. So Dave, they have a weight that they identify that you get back up to.
Ideally, yes.
Ideally.
Yeah. Once
Gotcha.
you fully back hydrate, it's usually 15 pounds or so. There's been fights where I weighed in at 55 and weighed almost 180.
Wow.
So it just depends. I weighed for my Ray Evans fight, so my second pro fight, I weighed like 178 on fight night. And I weighed
now when your opponent, like when Scott comes out, very respected opponent.
Yep.
Are you paying attention at all to his size or anything? I mean, does that cross your mind how guys hydrate back up, or you're just not even worried about that? You're focused on your game.
I think he's going to have to worry about what I bring to the table more than I need to worry about what he brings to the table. Just
Good answer.
just based off the way my fights go compared to his. Like he's going to be there. He's tough.
Sure.
I knock people out. He doesn't.
I love it, man.
So
Look
like
at that, Sonar.
I knock people out.
Look in the camera and say that again.
I knock people out.
That's right, baby. Now that's content on the 260, baby. Wow.
You know, like if you
That's
go
why
back,
we're going to be sponsoring these.
That's why we're going to
Yes,
be
sir.
there. We're going to sponsor you.
Yep.
And we want everybody at the 260 to come out and get behind Jacob,
Yep.
because you know what? We're going to be there behind you, brother.
we're going to have that 260 on your
yes,
shorts.
sir. Yes, sir. 100%. That's
Absolutely,
going to be
man.
awesome.
So, but talk about the confidence, though, man. I mean, just how comfortable you said that, man.
Oh yeah. You know,
The years
if you,
of fighting and just the training.
yeah, if you go back and look at my record, like even as an amateur, 80-90% of my wins are by knockout. So
Wow.
like that's what I do. I can do it all, but I definitely prefer to knock people out. My last two 170 fights, 17-second knockout and a minute 20 knockout. So in the first
Mike
round,
stuff right there, 17 seconds.
Wow, man.
like it's a cliche saying, but you don't get paid by the hour when you're when you're fighting. So the faster I can make fights, that's what I want. That's what the top level shows want too. I'm
Sure.
definitely win, lose or draw. I
Gonna
won't.
be action.
I won't be boring, and I'll be trying to
Yeah.
knock the guy out
That's what
for
we want
15
right
minutes.
there.
That's what we want, baby.
And he knows that, and he's tough. He's never been finished as a pro, knockout. Never been knocked out as a pro. He's been subbed. He's never
Wow.
been knocked out as a pro. So I look at that as a challenge. But he's never fought anybody that possesses the type of power that I do. I've watched all of his previous fights and
Where's
watched.
he out of?
He's out of Dominion MMA. It's his gym.
That's impressive, man.
Illinois.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact.
He's got his own
city.
gym, man. That's
He's
impressive.
he's a great guy, and he's been around for a long time, just like me. He's been active. He actually just won a title like 4 or 5 weeks ago, in a show that is kind of like his hometown.
Sure.
Yeah.
So now he's coming into my hometown to fight for a title. So
And that's something right there. This art of scrap, what they've done
Yes.
to bring the MMA here to the Coliseum.
How awesome is that? And
It's-
tell us a little bit about that, because I'm kind of getting, just kind of learning about a lot of this. But talk a little bit about the art of the scrap and bringing the MMA to the Coliseum. How many fights there'll be that night? Kind of what people can expect for
Oh.
those of us that are going to come out to support you.
yeah, there'll be 20 fights, but or
20 fights.
18 or 20 fights, something
Wow.
like that. But like I always tell people, I fought all over the country. I fought for the #1 amateur promotion in the country, Tough Enough, in Las Vegas a couple times, and at that point in my career, that was the best organization I've ever fought for. A lot of shows kind of treat you as like a number, or just like you're a
Sure.
piece of meat. You're going to the fight. You're gonna sell some tickets and make them money. Tough Enough and especially Art of Scrap, they make you feel important. They interview you. They post
Wow.
on their social media.
Sure.
They make sure that you're taken care of, and it makes you want to come back and fight for them. We have people that come in from Brazil, all over the country, across overseas, and they want to come back and fight for Art of Scrap. So that says a lot about the organization and the way that they run it. We have a media day, and you have set times where you come in and do interviews, and it's the way they take care of you is awesome. And of course, like fighting at the Coliseum was a dream of mine.
It's
Since
amazing.
I was a kid. Like that wasn't a thing when I first started MMA. The shows kind of sucked. Like where Jungle George's is?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's where my
that's
first
right.
fight was.
That's where your first fight
It was
was?
Broad Ripple or
Yeah,
whatever.
Broad Ripple.
That was I warmed up in like a bathroom next to my opponent right next to me. So like
But think of the journey.
now you get your own locker with your name on it. And
Think of the journey, brother. Think about your journey. Okay. Toughest guy you ever fought, man.
the toughest guy I ever fought is my only pro loss. Johnny Hopper is his name. He's actually fighting for the APFC lightweight title this Saturday.
Yeah.
Anthony Pettis' promotion.
Yeah.
He was a UFC champion. Him and I main evented his Anthony Pettis' second show. And he finished me.
The
So
first loss that you shouldn't even been in.
sure. I should not have lost that fight. But
What made him so tough, man? And
he hit
I know you both had mutual respect for each
Sure,
other.
Sure. He was 5 or 6-1 at the time. Really, probably, he's a split decision from undefeated. Probably should be undefeated.
Sure.
In a fight that I watched a million times. That I thought I watched it 5 or 6 times, and he could have won.
How many hours do you do watching tape?
It just depends on how I feel, honestly. Like I've watched Scott a little bit. I watched Hopper a lot more.
Sure.
It just depends on how confident I feel when I'm watching. Like, all right, well, like if I see the specific tendencies that I know are going to be there for me to capitalize on, I'm like, all right. But if it's like a guy like Hopper that like implements a lot of different problems, that you have to solve. Obviously, it's like Joe Rogan says, high level problem solving is like what a fight is.
That's exactly what it is.
If he presents more problems, like Hopper was a college wrestler, but knocks everybody out. So like he has like all first round finishes as a pro. I think he has 1 third round finish now, but at the time he had all first round finishes. So like he knocks guys out, but he also has a collegiate wrestling background. So
Wow.
which side do you want to
deal with?
deal with?
You
know
want
what I
to
mean?
stay away from the wrestling with him.
With ideally,
Yeah.
yes.
You
Yep.
don't want any
Yeah,
part.
but he did. But hats off to him. He hurt me early in that fight. Like buzzed me, sat me down, and I was kind of like on autopilot. Like I don't remember
Sure. Yeah.
much of that fight.
Yeah.
I was kind of on autopilot. It's a weird thing that happens when you get like caught. Sometimes you just kind of go to autopilot and you're just kind of instinctually fighting. But he fights this weekend. If he wins, he'll probably get signed to UFC or Bellator or somebody big.
Wow. That's
So
impressive.
he's
Wow.
on paper, and skill set wise, the best fighter that I've fought.
Great answer. Now, when you make the walk to the cage, Are you thinking about your family, your girls, your wife, or are you thinking about your boys, the Lee brothers, or
Or are you just zoned in?
are you just zoning? What's going through Jacob's mind as you just? I mean, what a walk that has to be, brother. What's going through your mind, man?
I love it. It's like my favorite
Wow.
part. I like to take in the
Like in
moment.
baseball, do you have a walk-up song?
I walk out with a rapper usually, a live
Wow.
rapper.
Live rapper.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's fun.
That's-
It's really, really fun. The crowd
I
loves
mean-
it. Like I try to take in the moment and like I'm not one of those that likes to be real tunnel vision because I feel like if I'm tunnel vision that whole time, that's how I'll fight. I like to feel. I want to feel and I want to see everybody. Like my last fight, I hugged my daughters on my wall. I had a Michael
Wow.
Myers mask on.
Michael Myers mask.
But
That's awesome.
because the Michael Myers movie had just came out
Yeah.
the night before. So like, well, I have to
Wow.
walk out of this. I always
So-
I plan my walkouts. Like I plan
Do
what
ya?
I'm gonna do and like, or I'll get
But also, I mean, you're a fighter, but at this level, being a pro, you have to be an entertainer too, don't you?
100%. Like I tell all the young amateurs in the gym, like you're your own brand. You're your own
Yeah.
business, really. Like
Marketing,
that's why,
Dave.
yeah, that's why I make cool walkouts and I have celebrations that I have planned after I knock somebody out. I'm gonna do this celebration, like, and I practice them. I feel like all that kind of like there's people like I can't wait to watch your walkout, or I can't wait to see you do the gritty again, or
Yeah.
I do like Rock the Baby like Westbrook, and like people like
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Westbrook commented on one of my posts of me doing Rock the Baby, and
Oh, really?
yeah.
Really?
So like that kind of stuff catches other people's eyes that the fight might not. So there's a lot of different audiences that I
You know
like
what
to
I'm thinking,
hit.
Joe? When he wins, he goes and climbs up on top of the.
I
rail,
always climb the
and
cage.
our logo is going to be right there.
Absolutely.
I always
man.
climb the cage too. Like I'll do some type of dance and then I'll climb the cage. And I
That's
usually
what
get
I'm-
I know where my whole family sits, so I usually jump on that part of the cage and say whatever's in my mind at that point. Probably say some cuss words or whatever that's got me hyped up at that moment, just jazzed up. But it's the walkout when they announce me, like it's different. You guys will see when they announce my name. I'm always second, of course. But when they announce my name, like he'll know where he's at.
That's what. That's
It-
big.
We
It
can't
shakes.
wait for
That's
that.
badass. He'll know where he's
That
at.
is
Yeah,
badass.
it gives me chills when I think about like them announce me. Like I think about it all the time, and I like listen to my walkouts. And I get chills every single time. Like that's that part. I love that part. I can't wait.
All the fights, all the training, cutting all the weight, the Lee brothers, art of scrap.
Right there it is.
Look at that right there, man. Look at you on there, man, Jacob.
Yes, sir.
I didn't even have a chance to get your pictures up there. I've been so intrigued with you.
I mean, do you think you found what you were meant to do?
I do. I really do.
Hey, Ben, while we're
Um,
closing, can you bring those pictures up?
and I know after fighting, coaching is another thing that I want to pursue. I love.
If you want to
coaching.
give it back to somebody else,
Yeah,
because it
yeah.
feels like when you sit here, you're a person that has come on the program, but you have a presence about you. And you can feel the intensity, can't you, Dave?
Oh my
And
goodness.
here's a guy who wants to give it back to the next guy.
Oh, for sure. I try to.
There's some pics.
Yeah, I tried. I don't.
Wow,
have a
look at
lot,
that,
I don't
man.
have a lot of team picks, so I put the one in there that I could find real quick for you.
It's awesome, man.
But yeah, I try to help, everyone, but especially the young guys that are just learning. Like I had
Wow.
to learn. I learned from one of my best friends, Jordan Downey. Dude's the most intense, toughest guy that I've ever
Look
trained
how
with.
cut he is.
It's amazing, man.
And I learned from his journey. I watched his entire pro career and I learned a lot throughout his career. He has like 20 plus pro fights. And
Wow.
You fight black.
no, that was just for that photo shoot. That's me versus Hopper right there
Wow. I heard that was just a fantastic fight, man.
for him. For me, it was a very bad showing and something that will never happen again. I didn't turn it on for that fight.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like when you fight a guy of his caliber at this level.
Sure. Sure.
There he is with the family.
That was maternity pics before the baby was born. I should have put a more recent one in there
It's
of like
beautiful.
the actual new baby in there, but I don't know that I have that many pics of it. But yeah, so I watched his pro career and I learned a lot
Here,
from
we're
him.
going to be right there, Joe.
Yeah,
We're gonna be right there, and
100%.
take a moment and get your socials out there, and
Yeah.
and shouts out to all your people for a moment.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. Yeah. My Instagram is @KindogMMA. My Twitter is the exact same, and of course Facebook. everybody says Facebook's for old people, but I use Facebook all the time. Like I have a lot of friends on Facebook. My Facebook's obviously just under Jacob Kindig. Then I want to shout out my sponsors, of course, Joe and Dave from the 260.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby.
You know, they're
behind you.
taking care of me, and this is an awesome experience. This has been really fun. I love podcasts, and I watch the Joe Rogan podcast daily, and like being on something like this. I've been on a few podcasts, but never something like we're at a table and I got earphones on. I didn't know what am I going to sound like in this?
Yeah, people gotta come out and check out Sonar multi-format.
This is way different and really, really fun. I could sit here and talk all night. I also want to give a shout out to my boy Justin Neal from Neal Power Washing. He's on basically every single picture on there. He's on there somewhere.
Awesome.
If you guys need any power washing done, I share his stuff on Facebook all the time. But if not, Neal Power Washing. And then my boy Neal Power Washing. And then my boy Sean Johnson. He's running for city council. I don't know anything about politics, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend I do.
Yeah, but think about it, man. But think about it, Dave. If the one of the toughest MMA fighters that we've seen suggests a guy for county council, I think that's probably a guy worth voting for.
Yeah,
right?
his name's Sean Johnson. Vote for him. Him and I played high school football together.
What a
We've been boys for a long time, so he's one of my sponsors as well.
Teach you the politics.
There you go.
That's right, man. That's right. Well, you know what? We're going to have our rapid fire round coming up. But before that, Dave and I and Sonar and Matt Brumball and Denise and Charlene, all of us with the 260, we got a little something special for you.
Okay.
If you can zero in on this, this is a 1 ounce silver coin, brother. And silver is a metal that has tremendous industrial use, but it's also a store of wealth. I love silver because silver's independent, man. And silver also has the greatest shine. And brother, nobody shines in the 260 like you with your MMA background. And we wanted to give you this piece of silver just as a token of good luck. And also, next Saturday night, man, you shine bright, baby, because you know what? The 260 is proud of you, Jacob.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that.
That's for you, brother.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Now to the rapid fire.
Yep, we have a little fun with our show. Sonar's wife, Crystal, had the brilliant idea of the rapid fires. We always want to send a shout out to Crystal. We'd like to ask you quick questions. Obviously, 3 girls training. You're a busy man, but what are you watching right now? Or did you finish anything on Netflix just recently?
Honestly, I play video games. So like I've been playing MLB The Show, Diamond Dynasty. MLB The Show is my game right now. I'm in a few Madden leagues as well.
Come up with Joe Tippman. They can be playing each other.
Yeah, it's funny because Joe Tippman just said after they finished the workouts at 3:00, man, he's gaming.
I was gaming before I came here.
I'm gaming, huh?
MLB, and I play in some Madden leagues that I ran on Discord, like 32 user leagues. So I'm playing like guys from across the country. So
that's awesome.
Gaming's been what I've done my whole life. Sports and gaming. So if I'm not at the gym, I'm on Xbox probably.
Awesome.
What is your favorite restaurant in the fort?
LS Teca.
Oh my gosh, Dave! Hey, you see that, bro?
Every day of the week.
I tell you what,
That's twice.
Hey, your sponsorship's gonna grow, man. Dave's gonna love you forever. That's Dave's place.
LS Teca, baby. Yes, that's been my dad and I. We've been eating there, my whole family, but my dad and I, especially for years, like years.
Great answer.
Yes, sir.
When you want to get juiced up a week from Saturday for that championship fight, what are you listening to?
I listen to predominantly rap, but I usually have 5 to 6 songs that are like potential walkouts. If I'm not walking out with the actual rapper.
Sure. Wow.
So I dwindle those down into a few, but I have my own I have my playlist called Strap Season because I'm fighting for the title. So I have a playlist for each individual fight camp. So I listen to that on repeat, and my kids probably get sick of it because it's cycled through a million different times. But my kids know all the words to a lot of them. But usually it's the most is like when I'm driving home at night from the gym, I turn the radio all the way up and I listen to like whatever I plan on walking out to, and I get chills. And
that's amazing.
No, it doesn't matter what. Youth, middle school, high school, your MMA. What's your greatest sports moment?
My greatest sports moment is probably being Artist Scrap's 2022 Fighter of the Year because that's the hardest I worked for a sport.
Sure.
I've played in national flag football championships as a younger teen. I've played in huge AAU games. I've played in state championship, national championship baseball games, but anything to do with what I do now, as a career, I worked the hardest for. Like I started from the bottom in fighting. I was
You were a
horrible.
novice.
I was horrible with no background. Like my dad was doing baseball, football, basketball with me, teaching me. Nobody taught me fighting but myself, and obviously my coaches. But
Four entities of MMA, he had nothing.
It's amazing.
And he had to teach himself them all.
And he stuck with it. See, that's what's so
He didn't
remarkable. He
That's
overcame.
he give you.
sure,
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's really what the silver represents. It's the shine for shining bright, but it's the ability to never
Strength.
quit and the strength to believe in yourself. And last question. Look in that camera, Jacob. It's a lot of young guys that want to be where you're sitting now, man. Guys dream of being a professional MMA fighter. Look in that camera and tell them what it takes.
it just takes consistency. Really, show up every day, get a little better every day. Find the guy in the room that is better than you or is more experienced than you. Ask him questions. Take notes on your jiu-jitsu class, your Muay Thai class, things that you want to work on. Bring into your sparring session stuff that you want to implement in your sparring session to figure out, new ways to do so, not just doing, not just going through the motions. But really what I did was obviously lean on my coaches, of course, trust your coaches, trust who you're training with. You can learn something from every single person, no matter what their skill level is or experience is. I've sparred with guys that have never fought a day in their life. I've sparred with one of my main teammates, Ryan McDonald, is a UFC vet, and anywhere in between. And you can learn something or add something to your game in every single round that you take. But finding somebody, I had Jordan Downey as kind of like my road to the show type guy that I followed. And I learned a lot as well. Mike and I together learned a lot through Jordan's road. So I would say he was the biggest catalyst for me. So like finding somebody that is ahead of you, and follow, not necessarily following their footsteps, but following what they did well and fixing what they didn't do well.
Impressive. Good luck a week from Saturday night.
Thank you.
Everybody in the 260 is behind you. I'm proud of you. And there you go, Dave. Jacob Kindig. We have Joe Tittman on, who's next week will realize his dreams in the NFL draft.
Both these guys.
And here's
wanted to
Jacob
change.
Kindig. And here's Jacob Kindig, a professional MMA fighter who willed himself to be a great one, Dave. What a show, huh?
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Next Wednesday, Tin Caps game. I'm throwing out the first pitch, 6:35 start time. So if you guys want to come out to the Tin Caps game, I'll be throwing out the first pitch. So hope to see you guys there. I haven't thrown a baseball in about 10 or 11 years, but I'm gonna be practicing with my boy Dustin Moore, who owns Extra Innings. So I'm gonna go over there and make him sit down like a catcher, get his old knees down there, or maybe sit on the bucket like a dad and catch a few maybe bullpen pitches from me. So
Jacob, I'm going to tell you, like I told my kids on game day, don't suck.
I'm more nervous for this
I bet
pitch than I
you
am my
are.
fight. So
I bet you're really.
I'm expecting a lot out of myself.
Oh
but,
my God!
I'm trying to bring it. The Cardinals I'm a Cardinals fan. They need some pitching. So hopefully there's a Cardinal scout in attendance. It's like, man, he throws.
I bet his nerves are actually higher than for the fight.
It's been a long time.
You can see it in his face.
Well, good luck, brother.
Thank you. I
We're
appreciate
proud of you,
Thank you
man.
so
We're
much.
proud of you, man.
Thank you,
And
guys.
Dave,
Thank
we
you.
got some people to thank, don't we? And what a show. Go ahead, Dave.
As usual, the Mr. Sonar over there pulled this. I was nervous as could be with the Big Joe interview. Thank you for pulling that off.
You don't need to be nervous, brother. I'm here.
Oh, thank you.
He didn't
thank
hear
you.
from you come Wednesday night. He calls me up. He says, Joe, I'm really, really nervous about this with Joe Tittman because, the Tittman family's so respected, and we were so excited to have Joe on. And I told Dave, I said, don't worry, Sonar's got it.
It's easy when we got our guest here.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was
No,
telling you.
Ben-
Zoom's tough.
Yeah, Ben in the studio,
Yeah, thank you,
back at
Ben.
the network, rocking it out like
Denise,
always.
Charlene, always appreciative. All the help you do with setup and tear down. And Joe, once again, we did it. Another
It's a
great show.
pleasure, man. And thank you, Matt Brumball. I tell you what, nobody shows up with just the energy and the respect that Matt Brumball brings to the 260. And congratulations to you, Dave. And shouts out to Joe Tittman realizing his dreams next week. And shouts out to Jacob Kinnick.
Yes, sir.
Kin Dog going to get it done a week from Saturday. I tell you what.
Yep.
Shouts
Done in one.
That's right, baby. You hear it here. He knocks people out. And the 260, We like to knock content out with Sonar. So
7th week, another great show.
another great show. And thank you, everybody. And we are the 260.
Feels like we're taking the crown. It feels like we were born to be champions.